Before we begin, a little announcement. Announcements usually happen after, but the Sundays of June 1st and June 8th, there will not be a video homily because of calendaring issues. We will be back on the 15th of June. But here it is, the 6th Sunday of ordinary time, of Easter time. And we have some issues today to talk about. The first reading is very important. It's from Acts, and it's almost about the first big issue in the church of Jerusalem and spreading out through the Acts of the Apostles. And there is a problem that some people, and you'll be hearing this in Acts of the Apostles, some people went off to Antioch and were preaching something different from what Paul and Barnabas and the church in Jerusalem was holding to. So we have to go back to the idea of circumcision. And where does that all go? The issue is that Abraham, it goes way back to Genesis, that the call of Abraham was to fertility of the land. There were going to be a land flowing with milk and honey, and that the descendants were going to be as numerous as the stars in the sky. So to be of that promise, then male circumcision, which was thought at that time to be the producer of children, that the male organ would be made different, special, as a sign of commitment to the covenant. So it was a Jewish tradition that for the males to be circumcised was that they were providers of the fertility covenant of God, family fertility. So that goes on for centuries and centuries. And then we have Jesus, the new covenant, is preached that we are saved by the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. So circumcision was not necessary for, it might be for health reasons or anything else, but not for salvation. That Jesus was the Savior, the sign. So there were people who found that very difficult. Their tradition, and Jesus and the apostles were challenging those traditions. Though Jesus was not establishing a new church, Jesus was calling the Jewish tradition to be more faithful to God through the belief in Jesus rather than a physical act of circumcision. So what we hear in the first letter, and it is very important, it's in a way the first council of the church. So they send Barnabas and Paul and some others back to Antioch with a letter, kind of the first real document of the early church. And it says, the only thing you have to do, besides believing in Jesus, is refrain from unlawful marriages, blood from strangled meats, and meats dedicated to idols or sacrificed to idols. So it's all about Jesus being the sign of salvation, not circumcision, not other traditions of the Jewish faith. It's believing in Jesus. That's by which we are saved. Okay, now to the gospel. And just a little sign. I want to talk a little bit about where Jesus says, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives it, do I give it. So peace is something we receive, not achieve. And it's not by these acts or those acts, but because of the relationship that Jesus offers to us. Peace I leave with you. Peace being something that is associated with unity. I give you a unity within yourself and among yourselves, and between you and me. What is peace then for us? There are many, and he says, not as the world gives. How does the world give peace to us? Well, by anything we can buy, or any place we can be, or people with whom we can spend time, they give us peace. It's an activity. And Jesus said, I give you a peace that is beyond that. And it's not to be going abroad, but to be going deeper. To be alone. To take time to be alone with yourself might make you more peaceful. To be peaceful with the things around you, with the world. Excuse me, but the world can't give you the peace that you can receive by being in a relationship with Jesus, you with Jesus. That's what Jesus is saying. I will give you peace, not as the world does, but I give it to you to the degree to which you can be with yourself. Peace with yourself is where I will give you peace. Where I was thinking, we had rain here this week, and I was thinking that the grass and trees could say, I will collect peace on my branches, and by that rain, I will achieve growth. It's a good idea. Except, by taking in the rain doesn't get to the roots, to the depth. And it's from the depths that the nourishment comes through the roots, through the fibers, through the trunk, through the branches, to the leaves and flowers. It's about going deeper. Not by our own actions. That's how the world gives it. I will get peace by myself. No, you can't get peace by yourself. With yourself. Alone, and with Jesus saying, I bless you in your deepest truth. Not by circumcision, not by spiritual push-ups, but by being peaceful with me, being with you. Well, that's the challenge of today's readings. It's a challenge of our Easter time. We receive the Eucharist alone, to ourselves. We take it into our depths, where Jesus is offering us a peace that the world cannot give. The world gives a peace that we grab. Jesus gives us a peace that we receive by ourselves. Not to stay by ourselves, but from our depth, then the tree gives flowers and fruit. But it has to be alone with its depth first, and so do we.